like, you know what you're talking about. This is like, there's such a big world here. So, does that answer?
I said, what color do you print after the yellow?
Usually, well, it depends. I mean, it's different every time. Usually the black is last. And lately it's been, yeah, with that one it was yellow, red, blue, black. But it varies.
Bill,
Yes.
can you talk a little bit about, obviously that painting was sort of the jumping off point for that, about how paintings work?
Yeah, the painting I use as a guide for making the print so that I sort of know where the red is going to go and the yellow will go and where they're going to overlap to make orange, for example, or where yellow and blue make green, or where the three of them make brown. In the last few prints I've started really using primary colors, which I think relates more for me to my own paintings. And I think I always tried not to do that because it seemed too much like making a print. But since it seemed too much like making a print, why not do it and see it and make it work? At some point, I have a reproduction of the painting I look at and use as a guide. But it always departs from the picture. It's not supposed to be a reproduction of the painting. I mean, that's not really the goal. It's just to have some kind of guide. And because I paint improvisationally and I never know what a picture's going to look like until usually a month after I've stopped working on it, and I kind of accept it and calm with it. But the etchings always become something else. I mean, I always know what they're from, but it's really nice to start out knowing what it's going to be, or more or less, knowing what the structure is going to be, even if the structure changes. Because in painting, I don't. Yeah. Yes.
I always admire your usage of colors, and I wonder, looking at this black and white one, if you start seeing the color while you are making a piece like this, black and white.
It's just black and white. I don't really think that much.
Purely just the black and white you see.
Yeah, I like, most of the world I live in is visual. It's not about ideas. I don't.
You don't see the color?
Yeah.
While
No,
you
I
do
don't
it?
see. I mean, no.
No.
Because, for me, it's just black and white.
Ah.
But black and white are colors. So, and somebody else had their hand up over there. No, Joe.
Bill, why don't you talk a little bit about the cherry tree and the derivation from the Morrison to the painting and why you then moved it to do an etching about it and the whole progression of the series?
Okay. So that has to do sort of with making, starting with an idea or a visual
Yeah, the
image.
composition, exactly.
But this one that's over there that Joe's talking about, the one on the left there, when I was younger, I still am interested, but I was very interested in the work of Bertha Morisot, and I knew it was a French Impressionist painter, and I knew her grandson, and I stayed at the house where she lived in her old studio, which was their living room. They had this painting by her of two women, one on a ladder, one below the ladder, picking cherries, a tall, vertical composition. And she thought it was her best painting, and she had bought it back from a dealer who had it on consignment. And she bought it so her daughter would have it, and her daughter kept it and left it to her son. So he still had it. And for this important painting, I never really got it. I never quite understood it. It didn't deliver on the pleasure that I felt it promised. And the same with that Renoir bathers, the big bathers at the Philadelphia Museum. So after starting to do etchings from paintings, I decided to do paintings from this Bertha Morisot painting and the Renoir, and I had canvases made the same size within half an inch of them. And I wasn't trying to do a copy of it or a version. I was just trying to use it structurally and as a springboard for doing something else. But I didn't like in either of the Renoir or the Morisot how the space worked. And the Renoir, if you know that, bathers, it always seemed cramped to me, like they wanted more breathing space. So I was gonna give them more. And the mark, so it's a green and white and blue painting, but my print came out both mostly red and orange. And so did the painting. So the prints from the painting, there's a painting that Woodmere Art Museum has that print is based on. But I've done a bunch of prints. I did one little representational one based on the painting, and I did about 5 paintings based on it. And I started as a figure painting, so a couple of years ago when I was stuck at home for a week with snow, because I didn't want to fall down and I stayed home. I thought, well, I used to do figure painting, so I did a figure painting of it. But then I turned it to the wall and haven't worked on it since. So, does that answer it? That's a rambling answer, but any other questions?
Bill, I was wondering what you find satisfying about both printmaking and painting as 2 separate media.
They both require a complete presence of mind, not going into a trance. Like you gotta be there, like totally attentive, or I do. Watching Cindy ink the plate, she uses a very small amount of ink, which contrary to how I made etchings when I would get ink up to here when I was a kid. And that's transcended into, or that's partly, but into the way I paint, where I started putting paint on with like a little piece of mat board cup, and using it as a squeegee. So and blotting the paint a lot and keeping it very, very thin. And also in printmaking and etching, you don't use white because it does oxidize. And I mean, there are people who do, but it's really hard, and it's just, that's one thing I don't want to defy and use. But I find in painting I've stopped using white as much, and I try to have a painting thin and employ the white ground under the paint to shine through, like the paper comes through in the color in the print, to make the painting glow and to kind of make the light of the painting come from within the painting. And I want them to look effortless too. I want them to look really easy, but I want them to be complex enough that unless you're really a moron, you realize they're not that easy. I mean, but if you take everything at face value, there. And I like Stan Murr wrote a review of the show, or not, a piece on the show, and essay, and he got that even though it's, they're pretty. I mean, a friend of mine always kids me that I'm doing pictures. My pictures look like I do them for little girls' rooms, but I think there's something really dark in the paintings because, I mean, I have a very grim and pessimistic outlook on life, but I couldn't bear to paint that too. I have to balance that out. And the happier I am, usually the darker my pictures are. And when I'm depressed, they're very bright and, buoyant. So I'm going to be painting very bright and buoyant pictures until 2020. But we'll see. Or 21.
No, 20.
20.
Hey Bill, have you tried monotypes?
No, I've never done a monotype. I have the same way I didn't want to do lithographs because of my grandfather. I didn't want to do mono. I don't know why. I should, because I made this rule and I should break the rule, but I've never seen a monotype that doesn't work. And that kind of annoys me. they're just, they're beautiful, they're authoritative. I love the authority of the etch line, but there's something about monoprint that I just think, oh, come on, like, make one that doesn't work. So that's what I'll probably try to do, and then have a bunch that don't work. And I want to thank Tina and Mike, who run Cerulean Gallery, for letting me have this show. I think when I was walking over here, I ran into a painter I knew who was here at the opening, and she said to me, and she said, "I love them." They're like two of the best people in the arts. They're so decent and honest, which isn't, you know, when I was a kid, one of my teachers was Jane Piper, and she would always quote Thomas Mann to me that artists are second, or Thomas Mann wrote that artists are second only to murderers in their unscrupulousness. I often think that's true. So it's really nice to work with Mike and Tina. It makes it feel really purposeful and worthwhile, and contrary to a lot of what's going on in the world. So, you're here. The feeling's mutual. So, if there are no more questions, you're free to indulge in wine and cider and cookies.
Thank you, Bill.
Thanks very much.